Hi, welcome back to Git presentation series. This is B.S. Satyadev, Assistant Professor, VNR VJIT's Computer Science and Engineering Department. In the last presentation, we have seen the approach one for linking the local repository to remote repository. In that case, the case that we have discussed in the approach one is that there is no local repository at all. Only thing is in the remote host we have the Git repository. In that case, we call git clone to get the repository onto the local machine, and that actually establishes the connection. You don't need to do anything big. Just you call push and pull whenever you want to store stuff in the remote and get stuff from the remote respectively. So that's what you said. Now this is approach 2, or this is case number 2. In this case, we have a repository in the remote, which is like git host provides the repository. Also locally also we have a repository, but there is no link between. In that scenario, we want to establish the link between local to remote. So how do we do that? That's pretty much what we are discussing in this presentation. Let's go to the next slide now. So I just said, I assume that there is a local repository there. Also remote repository is present in the GitHub. Again, we could take GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, whatever it is. That means you can take anything, but in our example we took GitHub. So make sure, like, the first thing we need to do is we need to make sure a remote Git repository is available in a remote host. In our case, GitHub. Then if it's not there, we have to create it. Like in this example, I already created. So the remote repository name is git test repository 2. This is created. This is created with 3 files. 3 files: git ignore, license, and readme.md. So again, this is remote GitHub, which actually hosts a repository called git test repository 2. Now let's go local. Local, I didn't assume that repository is already present. I just created it. You can assume that there's if there's already one repository here that needs to be linked, you can link it, but I just created it here. So what I have done here is, like, I go to a folder called OneDrive desktop VNR VJEC presentation /git. This is, again, like I said earlier, even though it is the name of this folder is Git, it is not a Git repository because you don't have main or master or anything like that. Now I created a directory called git test repository 2, mkdir. Now when you say that, it creates a directory called git test repository. I moved to this directory called git test repository 2. Now even after moving, you see that there is nothing after the name, right? Git test repository. So we are in this folder, but then there is nothing after the name. I said git init. So when I said git init, as you know, this actually creates a repository in this git test repository folder. So that's what it is. Initially it's empty git repository, blah blah blah. Right? It creates the repository. As soon as it's created, you can see there is a branch name stored, which is the default branch, which is called the master. Now, as I told you in one of the earlier presentations, that the name master is okay, but that's the old way of representing the default name. So the suggestion is use main. Even in the remote repository, so you see this is a main thing, right? So main is used as the default branch. So let's try to align that. Let's change master to main. Again, is it really a necessary thing? Not necessary, but it is highly recommended thing to have the same name for the local as well as the remote, for the branch as well. So the folder, the repository name doesn't need to be same. The folder name, the branch name doesn't need to be same. But it is good convention to have like that, right? In order to rename the branch, master branch to main, this is the command we have to give. Git branch minus capital M main. That means whatever branch name it is, change it to main. So then as soon as I did that, you can see that master is changed to main, right? So you can just change it to it. And I said git status, there's nothing because I just created this repository, right? So right now, by end of this slide, we have a repository in the remote, we have a repository in the local machine, but they are not connected. So that's what we are trying to do in the next in this slide. Once the remote gets set up, following command needs to be executed locally to connect to the remote host repository. Git remote add origin remote git URL. To check if it is properly connected, execute following command to make sure that the fetch and pull and push are available. So then we have to give git remote -v or git remote -v. Both are fine. If you give this command, it will show you whether it is really connected or not. This command is to connect the remote host and the local host. This is to check whether they are connected properly or not. And there is one more command to remove, but again, this is no difference. I haven't used this in the presentation, so I mean, when you want to remove the connection, you want to use this command, git remote remove origin, right? So that's what you can use, but I haven't used this command in this presentation series. So yeah, so once it is there, let's execute those commands. So git remote, initially I give git remote -v. Now the connection is not established, right? So that's why it is blanked. So there's nothing we got out of this command. Now I said git remote add origin and the repository name. So repository name, as you know, so this is the name of the repository, right? So this is the repository name. So I have given the repository name. Then git remote add. As soon as I said add, git remote add, and then I put git remote -v again, the same command, which produces nothing before adding origin, but after adding origin, it produces for fetch, this is the origin, for push, this is the origin. It said that. So that means they are linked now. The remote host and the local host are linked now. The get status says there's nothing to commit because it hasn't checked anything. So let's go to the next slide. Now, I said ls-a just to make sure there's nothing. As you know, -a is to show the hidden files also. So as .git is a hidden file, directory, it also appears because of -a. If you did not put, if you don't put -a, it doesn't show .git because whenever a folder started with dot in Unix, it is a hidden folder, right? So that's what it is. Now I see basically a link is established, but there is no communication yet, right? So in order to communicate, I said git fetch, and I already explained what git fetch does. It gets the data from the server to client, that means host to local machine, but GitHub to local machine, but it doesn't actually merges these files or stores these files. So it said something like I get 5 out of 5 or blah blah blah, whatever it is. But when I said ls-a, I got the same output because it didn't physically downloaded the file. So that's what this slide says. Now I said git log origin main. So I want to see what's the difference between remote host and local host. Now as I called git fetch, the local git server is updated with what is changed and what is not changed. It says like this author is changed on 8th of August. Now this is created on 10th of August. So there is a difference. So now you can see the date command, right? This is 10th. So that means there are data from the 8th of August. That's what, and the data comment is initial commit. So that's what done in the remote host. So even though the files are not there, it does know that it is actually, there are some files in the host which are created on 8th of August, which needs to be downloaded. Actually, instead of log origin main, you could also use git diff origin main, which we'll be using in the coming slide. So yeah, that's what this slide talks about. Now git pull origin main, I just wanted to get everything from the main of remote host. So it get the stuff into the main branch of local machine. So then I said ls-a. Now you can see these 3 files, right? .git ignore license and readme.empty. So yeah, basically the same way we worked in the approach one, right? So the same thing. So then I said git status. It shows like everything is fine and stuff like that. Now let's see a case where now they are connected. Now I want to push from local to remote. I mean, we did this in the previous scenario. A previous approach, but we'll do the same thing here. See how things are they going to be different from the previous scenario or not. Created a local file. As you know, cat greater than creates a file name called local file.txt. Remember, the git repository name is different compared to the previous one. It is git test repository in the previous approach one. It is git test repository 2 in this approach 2. Okay, so I created a file using cat command, added the file to staging, then committed the file. Right, so the file is created and stored in a local repository. Now I checked this server; it's not there. I mean, because I haven't pushed it, right? So it's not there, which is obvious. Now I said git diff origin main. So that means I want to compare my local thing with origin. So that's what this command does. So when it says that, it says +++ local file. That means this is a local file available which is not there in the cloud. I mean GitHub. So now that's what it is. Now I'm trying to set upstream. So like I said in my earlier presentation, why do we set upstream? We set upstream to have the tracking information. What is tracking? Tracking is nothing but okay, I'm in this current branch. Map this branch to a branch in remote host always, so that each time I said git push, I don't need to say git push origin main or git push origin branch, whatever branch name, branch X, A, B, C, whatever it is, right? So whatever branch name it is, well, I don't need to type the last two words. In order to avoid those last two words, I set this upstream as origin main. All that means from here you connect to the main folder for all the commands I'm going to give going forward. So now I said git push this thing. So it pushes the stuff into the cloud. It actually pushes the stuff. And then I said again git push. I mean, it's already pushed, even though and it doesn't error out, right? So it says like, yeah, it's already updated. That's what it says. So yeah, I mean, when I check my GitHub, I can see that the new file here. So this is for pushing files from local to the remote. Now let's see how we get, how we check from remote to local. That means I create a file in the remote but not locally. Let's see how it goes. Now I go to this remote host, GitHub remote repository. I said add and I use create new file. I said clicked on that one, and I set the name for the file remote file.txt. I typed something in the file. I mean, this is remote file. That's pretty much it. This is just for testing, right? Then I clicked on commit changes. Once I commit, it showed a pop-up. I put some message for commit message. Then I said commit changes. When I said that, so this file is created remotely, remote.txt, right? So now I go back to my local Git repository. Now I call git diff origin main. It didn't show anything. Even though there is some file in the remote, that is not there in local. That is remote.txt. It's not there locally. But git diff doesn't give anything. Why? Because we haven't fetched the content. We haven't seen what is there, right? We have to call and say, okay, is it changed? I mean, that protocol we have to follow. That protocol, in order to follow that protocol, we got to call git fetch. So then I call git fetch. Locally, that file is not there. However, when I call diff origin, it showed this thing. This file is missing locally. Missing means basically it's not there. I mean, you have to get it kind of thing, right? So that's what it says. So it identifies now that this file is there in remotely, not here. Now I said like git pull -- upstream. Now one thing is like for push, for push I have to give -- set upstream. For pull also -. See, this is ugly, and this is 2 times you have to give, right? Actually, there is another one command that you can do. Is git origin, git remote -- set upstream. Whatever it is, origin main, origin branch. You can use that. But the difference is here the this long pull command minus set upstream command not only sets the default the one that links the current uh, branch with the main branch in the remote, but also it pushes or pulls the stuff based on whether you are given pull or push. Whereas the command like get remote minus set upstream, it just only establishes the link. It doesn't push or pull, right? That's the reason I have given this command 2 times. Anyway, I mean it's just another command, right? Convenience. So I just ls minus a. Now I can see remote file.txt is there locally. So we have seen all the theory and the practicals about Git repositories and how to create and how to create remote repository and connect together. I just want to go through all the list of Git commands. May not exhaustively cover all the Git commands, but highly used commands that that we use in normal day-to-day life. When you are working with Git repositories, so I would like to go through them. And I have put all these things in a table format. I will just go through each one of them and I explain wherever it is needed, right? So git init, basically if there is a directory, you set git init. Of course Git has to be installed in that machine, right? So it will make the directory as a Git repository. That means you can store stuff into the Git repository version, basically versioning, right? That's what Git init. Git clone, we have seen it. You don't have anything in locally, but there is something remotely you want to get from remote to local. Git clone command you can use. Well, if there is an issue with host name and stuff like that, you can use SSH and all that stuff, right? So security issues are there, you can use SSH or HTTP, so it doesn't matter. Git status, it will this command will give you the status of files in the Git in the current directory with respect to the Git repository. So that means the current directory is part of a Git repository. It has to be, and the files in the directory, how they are connected to the Git repository. That means, are they up to date in the Git repository, or you have newer version of files locally but not in the Git repository, or the opposite way also. Sometimes the opposite is also possible, because you deleted this file and you got file from somebody else which is fewer versions back one, could be, right? So all this stuff. So git status gives you that. Git add adds a file into the staging area. Now there are 3 words that are confusing for new beginners: staging, stashing, squashing, right? 3: stage, squash and stash. 3 words, confusing words. They look and sound similar, but they are different. Staging, it means when you get to staging, when you say git add command. When you say git add command, what happens is the command will be stored in a special place called staging. So in that staging area, all the commands that you push, irrespective of the directory where they are in, of course they have to be in Git repository, they will be located. Now you can look at them using a git diff or whatever. There are UI tools also to diff between your local repository versus what is there in the staging, and you can compare, okay, what is changed, what is not changed. You can make a call, let's push this, let's not push this, all that stuff, right? So that's for staging. Staging is a temporary area where you push files, push content, basically I would say content rather than file content into that area before you actually store in the repository. Now git add -a adds all new and changed files staging. Git, I mean basically new and changed files, basically -a. Git add file name only adds one file. Add -a will store all the files that are changed and modified and stuff like that, and new files. Git commit -m, it stores the files from staging to the Git repository. So even though one file is there modified, but you haven't put it into staging, then that file is not going to be committed, even though it is modified, right? So you have to put into staging before you store it in the repository. RM removes RM-R removes a file or a folder. Git branch, list all the branch and put a star before the actual the current branch. Git branch -a, it also lists local and remote branch. So what is remote branch? I already discussed. So if there is a connection between local and remote branch, the link is established, then it will show all those branches. Git branch name creates a new branch. Git branch minus d branch name deletes a branch. Git push origin minus delete a remote branch. This is for remote origin. When you say origin and branch name, it deletes that branch. Git checkout minus, that means it changes like a cd command, right? It changes from one branch to another. Actually, of course, when you say minus b, it creates a new branch and switches to it. Git checkout minus b do clones a remote branch and switches to it. Checkout minus b branch name origin. So this is like from the remote, right? Git branch minus some old branch, new branch. So renames your local branch. This is for renaming. You could use capital M as well. So git checkout, basically cd command. So switches to minus b is for creating. When you use minus b, it is for creating a new branch. Checkout is for just cd change to the branch. Git checkout hyphen switches to the branch last check dot. Git checkout minus file name discard changes to the file. So and git merge command merges a branch into the active branch. So you specify a branch name. So you are currently in the main branch. So you in the branch X, you have made some changes to some of the files in the main branch. You said git merge X. That means it pulls all the changes files into local and merges them, right? So git merge source target that actually merges a branch into target branch. So merging a branch into another branch, basically. This is just local current branch. This is any branch to any branch. Even though you are in branch main, you want to merge A and B branches, you can do it from this thing. Git stash, I talked about it. Stashing changes in a dirty working directory. So this is like staging are different, right? Staging like a temporary area for all the files, whereas stashing is actually creating another temporary branch where you store all the changes. So it is as good as having the same code in a different branch. So that why do we do that? We do that, for example, we don't want to stage or commit every day, right? Unnecessarily, sometimes when you have CI/CD implemented using a DevOps thing, that could actually trigger a build when you push something into the host, right? So you stash them. Stash them means temporarily store. The staging is like for difference checking. For the differences. This is for taking a decision for commit or no commit. Stashing is like a temporarily store this and get to another project. Once the project is done, I will come back and say, unstash, right? So that's what it is. Stash clear removes all stashed entries. Git push origin. So pushes a branch to your remote repository, which you have seen. Minus u origin change remote and remembers the branch. Minus u is to remember the branch. I think I already talked about it earlier. Git push pushes the changes to remote repository. Origin. So this is required. Origin is required when you don't set minus set upstream, like upstream is not set, like tracing is not set. So here it is to delete a remote branch. Git push origin minus delete. Git pull, same thing. Git pull origin, pull changes from. This is basically same thing, but this is from a branch. This is from the traced, already tracked thing, right? So that's pretty much what it is. Git remote add origin. So this is to add an origin. This has to be done when you are in the approach to, right? So we have local branch. You want to connect to the remote branch. This is what the command we have to go. Git remote add origin. So git name and all that stuff, right? So it adds a remote repository. Set repository origin branch to SSH. This is to securely storing origins as a URL to origin, right? So that's pretty much what it is. Git log, it views changes. Minus summary just gives only detailed way of doing things. Get log minus on one line. It gives the summary in only one line. It's a brief thing. This is more detailed. This is brief. Git diff source branch. So it previous changes before merging, basically. I think that's pretty much it. These are the commands predominantly we use in a day-to-day activity. Yeah, I think this completes the Git series. Of course, there is a whole lot to explore and a whole lot to practice, but this is the basic fundamental thing that we get to use in everyday life. So this presentation series should cover everything that a developer needs supposed to know for working with Git, on a day-to-day for day-to-day activities. So thank you very much for patiently listening to all my videos, and I really appreciate it. Looking forward to make more videos and get in touch with you guys. Thank you. Bye.
Like, share, comment, and subscribe VNR Digital Learning Resource YouTube channel.